The HBO prequel It, Welcome to Derry presents a fantastic chance to validate a well-known theory among Stephen King enthusiasts. But before we get into it, if you haven't done so already, please hit the subscribe button, drop a like and comment on the video, and if you're able, please sign up for channel memberships for exclusive content, which really helps us out. Anyway, let's get back to Derry. So, this series will see the return of Bill Skarsgård as Pennywise, a crucial element for its success in my opinion. Besides delving deeper into the lore of it, the narrative will introduce a fresh cast of characters for the shape-shifting alien to interact with. If Welcome to Derry decides to incorporate characters from another Stephen King tale, it could potentially validate a popular theory regarding one of Pennywise's alternate identities. The theory that arises when discussing Pennywise's appearances beyond it is the notion that George Elvid from the novella Fair Extension found in the collection Full Dark No Stars is actually the shape-shifting alien. In Fair Extension, Dave Streeter, a man facing terminal cancer, strikes a Faustian deal with a magical ancient entity named George Elvid who resides in Derry. The novella offers several clues suggesting he might be an alternate manifestation of Pennywise. Throughout the text, Dave describes George Elvid as having a ring of sharp cannibal teeth, and he also alters his appearance multiple times, hinting at his shape-shifting nature. The legendary being possesses insights into psychic abilities which Pennywise exploits. George Elvid has the power to halt traffic during his negotiations, a feat that Pennywise could theoretically achieve due to his mental sway over the residents of Derry. Additionally, Dave characterizes Elvid at one point as the least appealing clown in existence with half of his makeup gone. Although it is said to have been vanquished in the 80s, as per the book, and the short story begins in 2001, it remains plausible that George Elvid is either the creature itself or a descendant. Numerous works by Stephen King allude to Pennywise, with even more suggesting that either it or its offspring are still in existence. Notable examples include the Pennywise Lives graffiti and the antagonist known as Mr. Grey, which is one of its aliases featured in Dreamcatcher. The It novel also contains lines that imply that shape-shifting entity may not be truly gone. However, fans will likely be left to ponder this as it's never been definitively confirmed or denied. Dave Streeter's arrangement with George Elvid is merely one of the many moments from Stephen King's works that could be incorporated into Welcome to Derry. While it may seem one of the less essential choices, it's also one of the more straightforward ones at first glance. They could depict Dave Streeter striking a deal with Bill Skarsgård. Naturally, to preserve the integrity of the short story, he wouldn't be in his Pennywise attire during his interaction with Streeter. In order to finalize the agreement, Streeter must give George Elvid 15% of his earnings and transfer his own misfortune to the person he despises the most. He could choose to bestow his bad luck upon one of the new characters from the HBO prequel series. Fortunately, this Faustian deal wouldn't need much screen time to achieve its desired effect. Given that it has manifested as numerous other humans throughout the films, it's entirely plausible to consider George Elvid as another human identity he assumes. Moreover, Elvid's description as the world's least pleasant clown bears a striking resemblance to Beverly's vision of Bob Gray in It Chapter 2. I will say though that confirming the George Elvid as Pennywise theory would be a significant challenge for the movie even if they wanted to. First, the filmmakers would need to secure the rights to characters from Fair Extension from Stephen King. Filmmaker Mike Flanagan has noted that King is reluctant to grant rights for multiple properties to the same individual at once, which nearly cost Flanagan the rights to Life of Chuck. For Welcome to Derry to gain access to both it and Fair Extension, King would have to make an exception, which also implies that he would need to agree to the idea of George Elvid being Pennywise. Furthermore, Welcome to Derry would face challenges in incorporating this narrative as the director has already got a clear vision of the story he intends to tell. Reports from CBR indicate that he has outlined 3 seasons, each focusing on different interludes in reverse chronological order. For those unfamiliar with the It novel, these interludes detail the disastrous events that unfold when Pennywise awakens from his slumber. According to reports, the first season of it, Welcome to Derry, is set in 1962 and will revolve around the Black Spot Fire, while the second season will take place in 1935, focusing on the massacre of the Bradley Gang. The concluding season is set in 1908 and will depict the Kitchener Ironworks explosion. To validate the theory, the show would need to alter the timeline of George Elvid's agreement with Dave Streeter and modify certain elements of the narrative. Additionally, he must find a way to incorporate the cameo into one of the interludes which signify the beginning of the Pennywise cycle. The deal cannot take place before the major tragedy, as Pennywise is dormant during that period. However, having the deal occur afterward might divert attention from the main storyline. The creative team may consider a Dave Streeter cameo to be overly distracting, and ultimately, if they genuinely wish to feature a character from Stephen King's universe, it might seem more plausible that they would introduce Jake Epping in the first season of Welcome to Derry. This could be achieved with minimal adjustments and would not detract from the narrative, unlike the proposed Dave Streeter cameo.